We have another man who was killed by ICE agents. This is out in Maine, and it's for the same reason, for weaponizing his vehicle.
This morning, new images after a deadly ICE-involved shooting in Maine. Neighbors heard up to 5 gunshots. The man's white car then seen here after the shooting, slowly moving in a circle, an immigration officer running, trying to open the driver's door. Seconds later, officers take out what appears to be a motionless body.
I heard the young man say, "I tried to stop." Clearly heard him say that. I tried to stop, or I tried to pull over.
The victim, identified in local media as 26-year-old Joan Sebastian Guerrero from Colombia. He was reportedly on his way to work. Immigration advocates say he had a social security number and was authorized to work in the U.S. A witness says an officer at the scene claimed the driver had tried to run him over.
His head was bloodied, his face was bloody. It was awful.
The windshield of the car left covered in bullets. ICE says the man was not the intended target, saying ICE law enforcement attempted to conduct a vehicle stop. The vehicle attempted to flee the scene, and fearing for public safety, an officer discharged his weapon.
See, these cases are so difficult to even to try to get down to the nitty-gritty, because majority of them do not wear body cam footage, or do not wear body cams, at least what I'm seeing. And so I would like to know the exact point of view that the officer saw. Did he truly try to run him over? Was he trying to stop? There's a lot of questions to whether if we know if this is a good shoot or not. But someone did lose their life, and he wasn't even the initial target. So I wonder why he was trying to flee in the first place. But if he was trying to flee. But let's keep going into this.
Right. Bottom line is, you have to either fear for your own safety or the safety of others. And so far, we haven't seen evidence of that.
Last night, vigils and demonstrations protesting the shooting. It comes less than a week after an ICE agent killed an undocumented immigrant in Houston. Agents claimed he threatened them with his vehicle. The New York Times reports the fatal shot was fired into an open passenger window. And in a separate development, months after the shooting deaths of Renee Good and Alex Preddy by immigration officers in Minneapolis, federal officials have now shared evidence with state investigators.
Some of the physical evidence that was previously withheld, including Renee Good's car. It has been rightfully demanded by our community for the past 6 months.
The attorney for Good's family calling it an important and meaningful step towards justice and accountability. The ICE-involved shooting in Maine is the 9th recorded death since the start of the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. And in this case, as well as the Houston case, officers were not wearing body cameras. Homeland Security says body cameras are being rolled out.
Like I said, that's the biggest issue that we're going to end up having with protests, because we're never going to know for sure what happened. They're going to always, or anyone who's against ICE is always going to think, oh, well, obviously something wrong, because they can't see any body cam footage to prove what they're saying happened. Now there's, like they said, this is the 9th shooting, but we'll get over more details about how many shootings there were. But this whole experience is just making more and more people dislike ICE and how they're handling stuff. Now it's a lot. If 2 in the past couple weeks of people saying that they were trying to run them over with the vehicles, but we still haven't gotten any judgment or information on them in the first place. But let's keep going into this. And because they are stopping the majority of the vehicle stops, what it seems like. Let's get into it.
This is breaking news. The U.S. government temporarily stopping vehicle stops by ICE. This nationwide temporary pause coming one day after another ICE-involved fatal shooting of an immigrant. A 26-year-old father and Colombian national killed in Maine yesterday. A 52-year-old father and Mexican national was killed in Houston last week. Both men killed in operations that began as vehicle stops. Senior border correspondent Allie Bradley joins us live. So, Allie, this is a significant change in protocol. What else are you learning?
Yeah, you're exactly right, Nicole. A big shift here for ICE, where sources have confirmed that the agency is going to temporarily halt these vehicle stops nationwide. They're going to undergo some additional training before they restart this practice. Now, we did just get a statement from an ICE spokesperson who says, quote, "We are always evaluating our procedures to keep our officers safe and criminals off our streets. We will not disclose or discuss law enforcement tactics." So in Maine, ICE says that officers were conducting targeted surveillance on a person with a final order of removal and attempted to stop a vehicle leaving the home. The agency saying, quote, "The vehicle attempted to flee the scene and fearing for public safety, an officer discharged his weapon. The driver died from his injuries. He has been identified as 26-year-old Joan Sebastian Guerrero from Colombia." Maine Independent Senator Angus King says that Homeland Security Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen told him the man was not the original target of that ICE operation. Now, protests meanwhile swarmed Republican Senator Susan Collins' office yesterday, entering through the front door, chanting, "Vote her out." This after she voted to pass the $70 billion in new funding for federal immigration enforcement. She is up for re-election. Today, Maine Democratic Senate candidate Nirav Shah is calling for a full investigation and says ICE needs to be abolished, saying it's beyond reform.
Now, I don't know about the beyond reform thing. I think there are some serious problems. Like I think that we need a border and custom enforcement agents. We need those people just as a sovereign nation. But to say that it's beyond repair, I think is too much. First things first, I think every ICE agent should have body cams, just like the police. They are officers in general, and they handle, especially now in these times, they handle dealing with the public even more. So body cam footage makes perfect sense. I don't know why they haven't already rolled out mass body cams for everyone, but it should be a thing. I think that would solve a lot of the problems and a lot of the distrust that a lot of these civilians are feeling. If they have something that they can look at and be like, oh, okay, I can understand why he shot, or I don't understand why he shot and he needs to be charged. We need to be able to look at that as a public. I think that will help a lot. That's what changed a lot for people's perception of the police, seeing the body cam footage. But let's keep going into this.
To say focuses on criminality at the border, drug trafficking, rather than picking up a 26-year-old who had a work permit and a social security card and didn't even have the warrant on that was being issued. Rather than focusing on him, focusing on cartels at the border. Rather than focusing on law-abiding citizens who are contributing to our economy, focusing on real threats. To me, we have already come way too far, and it's time to abolish ICE.
I mean, if we abolish ICE, then what will we do at the border? Because I'm assuming, don't ICE handle both the border and the procedures outside of the border trying to capture illegal immigrants? You can't just say get rid of ICE. We got to have some kind of border security. Now, I might be mistaken, but let's keep going into this.
And just last week, another man was fatally shot in his vehicle during an ICE operation in Houston. Reports say he was also not ICE's target. Now, the former acting ICE director under President Obama said that 20 people have been shot by ICE since President Trump took office. 18 of those took place during traffic stops. Now, he's saying that ICE isn't really trained well on traffic stops. Now, when we look at this Maine and this Houston incident here, the Maine incident marks the 9th time that ICE has used deadly force since Trump's immigration crackdown began. Nicole.
All right, so Allie, where do things go from here?
Yeah, so right now, investigators, both state and federal, are going to try to determine if this ICE officer's moves were justified. They're also going to be gathering as much evidence as possible to piece together exactly what happened. So we know right now that the Maine Attorney General, the FBI, and the Department of Homeland Security's Inspector General are all investigating the shooting. This, as sources confirm, that the officers were not wearing body cameras. The same thing was true in the Houston shooting last week. Now, when it comes to those body-worn cameras, the White House has said that the shutdown is what prevented the rollout from being successful across the board, from getting these body-worn cameras to all ICE officers. They're blaming the Democrats for the delay, blaming the shutdown on them. Nicole.
All right, Allie.
Now, the one thing I hate, no matter who you go for, I hate when people blame the other side. Let's just say that we couldn't get him rolled out, but we're working on it. I don't want to hear the Democrats' problem. I just want to. I don't want to hear the Republicans' problems. Whoever, let's just get it done. Let's just get it done. Let's not hear excuses. But let's get over into the AI breakdown, y'all, just to see more about this case and just go more into details about the ICE shootings in general. So, as we know, and we talked about on Monday, July 13th, the ICE agents shot and killed a 26-year-old Colombian national in Maine. So the fatal incident sparked intense local protest, of course, and a state investigation. So the confrontation happened when they were surveilling a residential home, and they had a final order of removal when agents attempted to conduct a traffic stop on a vehicle leaving the property. They're saying the vehicle tried to flee. Now, because remember they said that they're going to do an investigation. Unless they have clear evidence, video evidence, maybe some witnesses that can back up saying that he wasn't trying to flee, that he was just trying to park or whatever they're trying to say, or he wasn't trying to hit an officer, they're going to go with the officer's word about it. At least that's my thinking. But let's keep going. So we got DHS stated that an officer fired his weapon into the vehicle, fearing for public safety. And the internal communications sent to Congress notes that the driver has allegedly weaponized his vehicle towards law enforcement. No, that's what they normally say. So local witnesses reported hearing multiple gunshots around 7:15 a.m. One nearby resident stated that he heard the victim shout, "I tried to stop," before an agent told the witness the driver had tried to run him over. Security footage from a nearby business shows a law enforcement SUV blocking the white vehicle before officers dragged out a limp body. So local advocacy groups, including the Maine Immigrants' Rights Coalition, confirmed that he lived nearby with his partner and 3-year-old daughter, worked at a veterinarian clinic, and was a delivery driver, and possessed a U.S. work authorization permit. The senator stated that he was not the intended target. So following a wave of swift backlash, we know that ICE has been ordered to immediately halt most vehicle traffic stops nationwide. And I think the only way that they're going to, or the only way they should go back out and do these traffic stops is if they are wearing body cam footage and get some more training, it sounds like it needs, because the main thing looks like procedural issue if all this is happening. But we gotta be honest, we don't know what exactly happened. They could have been fleeing. We haven't seen any body cam footage or anything like that, or footage saying that he wasn't fleeing. But we got different witnesses' accounts, so you got to figure out what you believe. So as we know that this directive comes because of the shooting, this is the second shooting in less than a week. So I did want to get into more details about how many. So in 2026, ICE has resulted in at least 23 to 25 deaths in total. So that's just deaths. So we got at least 4 to 6 people have been shot and killed by ICE during the public operations so far this year. And most of them are talking about they were shooting in self-defense because they feared for the public safety. And following these back-to-back shootings of these different people, like we talked about, they immediately halted the vehicle traffic stops. In multiple incidences, witnesses and surviving passengers publicly came forward to dispute the federal narrative, stating that the drivers were trapped and never endangered the officers and were shot through the window while trying to stop. And the clear thing that a lot of these cases have in common is there's no body cam footage. Now, in the Renee Good, we did have some body cam footage, so that was good, or it might have been cell phone footage, but we had footage. So investigation have severely complicated because the DHS admitted that many of the active field agents were not wearing body cam footage. And then, of course, we had some deaths in the ICE detention facility. There has been at least 19 of them. A lot of them severe medical neglect or illness, such as cardiac arrest or untreated infection. And then we had some suicide. Wow. So ICE formally maintains that it provides comprehensive, humane medical care and describes the deaths as a result of pre-existing health conditions. Public scrutiny has intensified after the local county medical examiner stepped in to rule specific detention center deaths as homicides, directly contradicting ICE internal medical review. It's another one, y'all. But the question is, was he fleeing? Was he trying to hit an officer? It seems like we're asking that question a lot in these past couple of weeks. I do think we need ICE. I do think that it sounds like they need more training and they need more procedures, and 100% they need body cams so that people will feel more at ease and knowing that they can actually witness what the officer sees. But the question is, will it be a mandatory requirement for them to be out or to have body cams? And will we see that? Hopefully we will, but we'll have to wait and see. But let me know your thoughts on this situation, y'all. Do you think he was fleeing? Do you think it's just another coincidence? Well, what are your thoughts? And how are you feeling about ICE at this point? But it's a crazy situation no matter how you look at it, y'all. Let me know your thoughts and let me know if you disagree with anything I said. It's a crazy situation.